Okay then, last subject for me today, this one. Seen something on the TV this morning, you've probably heard the question before, should a parent, or grandparent for that matter, have favourites? Obviously no, they shouldn't, but obviously in many occasions they do. So I've got a quick take on that, and I've got a little story at the end of this quick take on that will try to explain how one may be a favourite over another, and also how things may change from what they were to what they now become. For those who've seen anything on this channel, you may have seen the intro video first. It tells you all about the channel, tells you a little bit about myself. We're going to do a lot, and we've done a lot to do with entertainment, people from the media background, many of them people that I don't believe are that great at what they do, and I'm calling them out for being not that great, although I mean it's not my position to do that, but I've just decided that's what the channel's going to encompass. Many from sporting background, because I love sport, again knocking those that I think are way under par and aren't doing a good job, and you know, we're shortchanging people yet earning absolutely fortunes. There have been a few occasions where I've praised people, and I will still be doing that, but it'll be more of the latter. And also what we're going to cover on this channel is life in general, and to an extent, my life. There'll be very, very few of you that are interested, but there'll be some that are. I love hearing about people's lives. I love somebody taking me from what they were to how they change and how they shape themselves into what they become. And in that same vein, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a range of topics, a range of subjects. We're going to look at things like depression, bullying. I've had a great experience of one of those. I'm not a counsellor by any means, but I've got some views, and the views I've got on one of those subjects will definitely, I promise, help people. We're going to look at things like family life, friendships, lots and lots of things. But before I go any further, let me say that my main couple of reasons for being on here. One would be because I've got some time on my hands, I've got an opinion, and I like to air an opinion. And more importantly, I like to see how an opinion fits out there in the landscape with other people's opinions, which is why there's a comment section here that will always be open, which is why though many people will call me on a regular basis because they'll think I'm not PC, many people, possibly more so of my age group, will think the things I'm saying are relevant and are correct. I say in every now and again in videos, and I'll say it again, I'm not at all racist. I don't care what colour your skin is. I don't care whether you're male or female. I don't care whether you're anything's in between male and female, whatever they may be out there anymore, because there seems to be more and more options and more people kinds than there were in the past. I don't care what religion you follow. I just don't care. You know, if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. And I'm happy to be judged the same way. If you've got an opinion on things, I'm happy to hear it. I won't be responding to opinions in type because I've not got the time, and many of the opinions might be negative, and I'm not going to get in slanging matches with anybody. But if somebody voices an opinion and I think it's something that needs tackling, something that needs comment on, I will do it the following day or day after on here. Okay? Yeah, but that's what we're going to do. So it's going to get heavy and deeper in some places, but further down the line, we haven't got the viewership for that yet. And I'm going to let you know a lot about my life. I mean, I've had a brilliant life. I've reached my 60s now. For the first 48 years, I had a fantastic life. I wouldn't swap it for anybody. And I mean anybody. You can be anybody in this world. You can have as much or little money as you want. You can live in palaces. You can have the greatest cars. You can own a super yacht. I still wouldn't swap what I've had. I've had a brilliant life. The last 12 years, not as much so. That's down to some family members, which is why the question of should you like one son or daughter more than the other is relevant with this. And also some friends. I've seen a side to people that I didn't know was there. I've been disappointed with many people. Many listeners to this will say, well, if you've had some problems with family members and problems with friends, surely you can't be also great yourself. And you know, I get that. I would think that myself if I was listening to me now, if I didn't know me. But let me just say this. The issues that I've had with people and the problems, genuinely, and I mean genuinely, are not down to me. I don't feel for one moment that I've done any harm to anybody. and I really mean that. I sleep really well as you can, based on the past 12 years, but the past 12 years haven't been what they should have been, and we'll touch on things like that further down the line. But back to the question, which, as I say, is part of the preamble I've just given you. Should a mum or dad or grandparent like one kid more than the others? And as I say, no, they shouldn't. But yes, it happens. And sometimes it happens, and as time goes on, things change. They've changed in my life, which is why I think this is relevant. But just to state how my family life was. When I grew up, I was, and I'm not divulging a confidence, it's true, I was my mum's favourite kiddie. I've got a brother, a sister, and me, 3 of us. I'm the eldest. My brother's a year younger. My sister's about 5 years younger. I was my mum's favourite. My aunties and uncles used to call me number one son. And my mum blushed at it and laughed at it, but it was the case. I was very, very close to her. I'm still close to her now, and to my dad, although not the same way. My sister was my dad's favourite kid. I don't think he'll ever admit to it, but she was. And all the things that I've gone over the last 12 years now are really, that is the root of the problems, really. Again, he definitely wouldn't admit to that, but that is the root of the problems. And a bit of jealousy on the part of a couple of people. Unfounded jealousy, by the way. My brother was like nobody's favourite, and it'll seem harsh to say, but some used to say it, and I'm saying it now, and I know it's harsh and I know it's unfair, but as he was as a person at that time, and he grew out of this, by the way, what I'm going to say next, he's grown back into it since. He's definitely a wolf in sheep's clothing, but when he was younger, many would call him the runt of the litter. The runt of the litter is normally the one that doesn't get looked after by the mother or the father, often is deprived of food, sometimes dies young because he's not got the care and attention that she gives to the rest of the litter. He wasn't that bad, but as a kiddie, as he grew up, he was always in trouble, always causing grief. Nothing really, really bad. My mum tells many stories of me and him and her getting on a bus, and she couldn't control him to save a life. When I say couldn't control him, he'd be running up and down the bus, he'd be dancing on the bus, he'd be doing anything that would make people laugh. People he'd never met before, people we'd never met before, and if they laughed, he did more. If they laughed at him jumping over a seat, he'd jump over too. And she couldn't control him. You should absolutely do a head in. Whereas I was a good boy doing as I was told. Wasn't always that way. I got into some trouble with the law and whatever else further down the line, but although I'm still got in trouble with the law, never done any jail time, never done anything wrong. Being chased by police all the time for messing about and on building sites and just generally being young kids. Lived in a great area with lots of building sites, lots of fields, and was often getting up to no good. But nothing too tense. My brother went from that to, as he got older, doing things like as he's at high school. I smoked for about a month, maybe 2 months. Couldn't smoke to save my life. Where you take a drag, pardon me, and take it all down and stuff. I couldn't do that. I throw it all up. When my mates were smoking Woodbines and Park Lanes, and I think they were called Park Lanes, and proper cigarettes, I'd be on consulates because they tasted nicer. Tart that I was. But yeah, only smoked because my mates didn't like it, thought I'm not going to do it, never done it since. My brother started smoking young because, again, other lads did. He had always done it. I think he did it for years, a good few years. He stopped a long time ago now, but he did it for a lot of years, I think. But he used to sell t-shirts, he'd sell his clothes to buy fags, he'd keep his dinner money and not eat and buy fags with that. He used to drive me man wild. And then as he got a little older, we used to play cards as we older in the local club for money. Maybe we shouldn't do it, but we did. We'd bet on football matches and what have you, again, for money. It's betting. Whenever he'd hook up with me and my mates, which wasn't all the time, but whenever he did, it was a nightmare. He'd always get into trouble. I'd always be bailing him out. I'd always try to get him to stop playing and stop betting, and he was a nightmare. When we used to go to restaurants when we were 17, 18, 19, our first Chinese restaurants, we didn't go to Indian restaurants then because our town probably had 1 or 2 and we didn't know anything about Indian food, but we go to Chinese restaurants. When he was drunk, only when he was drunk, he'd be abusing the staff, as many used to, thinking it was funny because they were Chinese, and he didn't know better, but I'm constantly treading on eggshells, trying to keep him in line. It got harder and harder because, again, as the rest of the table were laughing at him, not that everybody did, but some did, he'd do even more. You know, he's not racist. I mean, I hate to defend him because I don't like him anymore. But he's not racist. But at that time, it seemed that way. And it was awful. But as he got older, early 20s, he became better. And now I think he's become a decent dad and granddad, I think. He's not become a decent family member because what he's been part of to me and my family isn't great, but that's another story. So anyway, he really wasn't a favourite of anybody's. My sister was my dad, me, I was my mum. And that was it for many, many years. You know, even though he got better as he got older and more sensible, held down sensible jobs, he always worked hard. He's always worked hard, never shed, never shirked hard work, always been a good breadwinner, always looked after his family. It still remained the same. And then 12 years ago something happened, and which I'll go down on another video. It'll be weeks away, that will be, when I'm taking you through the life of lead. Things changed. Now my brother was never a clever soul, academically never that clever. I was really, but you know, I'm not bragging in any way, shape or form. There's a lot cleverer people than me. I was probably the cleverest in the family. He definitely wasn't. That said, he's become very, very clever since. You know, when I say clever with people. He was great with family members and friends. He'd become very clever, but not in a nice way. But anyway, he played games. I don't play games. I'm just me. So anyway, this takes you to a story. That's a massive preamble, and I do apologise just to get to this story. It's only a very short story, so the video's not nearly ended now for those that have got this far. Yeah, I'll tell you how we are as kids, the three of us. I'm 6'1", just in my 60s, 6'1". My brother is a year younger than me. He's an inch taller. My sister, I think she's at least 5'9", but she could be 5'10". I don't think she's 5'11", so we're all really tall. If my sister wore heels, she'd be taller than me, I'm pretty sure, but I don't think she wears heels. My brother has always been slim, not a bodybuilder by any means, not all muscly, but slim. In my early life, I was always slim till about 30, 35. Since 30, 35, I've fluctuated up and down with weight. Part of that is because I'm lazy and I don't go to gyms and what have you, but the biggest reason is food. I eat too much food. I absolutely love food, as many of us do. I'm probably not far off a beast, but then again, I don't look huge and horrendous. It helps because I'm 6'1". You can carry weight that bit better when you're taller. I don't walk into a room and people go, "Ooh, look at him," or you know, I don't attract glances because of how bad I look. But in my eyes, I'm bad and I'm not happy. And one of the big aims in my life now, and it's going to become this week, is I'm going to lose some weight. I decided on Monday I'm going to lose some weight. I really am. I really will. I'm strong-willed and I can do it. All I need is to put less food on my plate. And I started it Monday, we know on Wednesday, that's what I'm doing. It kills me because I love food. There we go, there's my confession. I love food. I love it with a passion. The food's a like that is. I'm the fussiest eater in the world, but I love food. Anyway, I've put on a fair bit of weight, and I've been this way up for the last year or so. I've been more overweight than average weight for the last probably 15 years. But the last year or so, I'm bigger than I want to be. My brother has never really put weight on. He's always slim. He might have a little pot on his belly, but it'll only be small. My sister, well, let me get to my sister last. Let me tell you this. This is what happened. I've gone from being number one son to being on the reserve list now, probably. I'm not number two son, there's only two of us. I'm not number three child. I am because there's only three of us. But I'm really not in any pecking order anymore because my brother and sister are very close to my mum and dad. They see them all the time. They see each other's families. My mum and dad visit all the time. We don't see my mum and dad anymore. Definitely don't see my brother and sister. Don't miss them for what they've done. Still love my mum and dad. They're wonderful people. If you met them and you're not going to, you'd love them. They're just absolutely wonderful people. Do anything for you. Good-hearted, kind, wonderful people. So this isn't a knocking of my mum and dad, I promise. But they're not the way they were with me and my family. But that's where we're at now. So I'll go back to what happened about 6 or 8 weeks ago. Goes to my mum 6 or 8 weeks ago, maybe 10 weeks ago. And I goes to the front door, and I normally walk in and they sat down, but this day she was at the front door and she opened it as I walked in. And as I said, I put some weight on, so bear that in mind. My mum pokes me in the belly, oh God, you need to lose some of that, don't you? Or who's been eating too much? Or are you eating for two? Or something like that. Something sarcastic, but not meant sarcastic, not meant in a nasty way at all. I'm there for the next hour visiting, and we're talking about all different subjects, and I can't get this line that she gave me at the front door out of my mind. Because I'm thinking, why on earth would she say that? Even though I'm overweight, and I know I am, don't get me wrong, I can take it, I'm fine, I can take any kind of brickbats in the world. And for all I'm overweight, and I don't like the way I look, it's for me. I'm not worried about what anybody else says or what anybody else thinks. That doesn't worry me one iota. I worry about my weight for me. But going back then to my sister, as I say, is about 5'10", 5'11", extremely tall. When she was 10, 11, she'd be the tallest in her class. When she was 14 or 15, she'd be the tallest in her class. And extremely thin. She was like that. We used to say like a lat. I don't know if anybody knows what a lat is, but we'd say like a lat. I think when she got to probably about 18, 19, 20, she put on some weight. And for the next, say, 10 years, she fluctuated. They would say twice in that 10 years she'd be not thin, but really thin. And the other times out those 10 years, which was more than the 2 times she was really thin, she'd be very overweight. Not just a little, but very overweight. I've not seen my sister now for about 12 years. She could be so slim it's unbelievable. She could be of average weight. She could be a bit slimmer than whatever average would be. She could be a little heavier than what average would be. I would say she'd be overweight and possibly even very overweight, but I don't know. I've never asked my mum and dad. It's not something I ask them. I've not seen my sister for 12 years. My wife hasn't seen her. My children haven't seen her. My grandkids haven't seen her. By the way, none of that's down to me. And I just wonder, has my mother in the last 12 years ever poked my sister in the belly and said, oh, you need to lose some weight? I don't think she has. And the reason I don't think she has is that would kill my sister. It would absolutely kill her. She can't take it the way I did and the way I can. And although I mention it to you now, and it's still there in my mind, I can cope with it. It's not like killed me. It's not killed me as saying it, because I never took it in a really bad way. But it hurt me in that I'm thinking, when my mum says she treats all kids the same, she's always said that, she always did. I'm thinking, well, that's fine. If you've done that to my sister in the last 12 years, that's fine, I'm good with that. But if you've not, that's not treating all kids the same. But more than that, I thought to myself, I've gone from number one son to being nowhere near number one anymore, and also being treated differently than the other two, without any rhyme or reason. So all I will say is, mums and dads, we do often have sons or daughters we favour, or grandkids, and that's because of the demeanour, the way they hold themselves, the things they say and do, although we know we shouldn't do. But mums and dads, do your damnedest to treat them all the same and try to make them all feel loved and valued. Even if you do have a slight preference, a slight favourite, it's probably a natural thing for most people. That's my take on it. If you agree, comments down below. If you don't, comments down below. But that's where I'm coming from. No, we shouldn't have favourites, but yes, we do. In many instances.